Now I have the pleasure to invite Mrs. Anna Mikeladze, spokesperson of the Central Electoral Commission of Georgia. Please, you have the floor, madam.
Dear colleagues and respective guests, it is my great pleasure to be part of this very significant event. I would like to express my gratitude towards organizers of this event and thank you very much for hosting us in such a beautiful part of Romania. My presentation is related to increasing credibility towards election administration of Georgia through reducing time for announcing preliminary election results. Legitimacy of election results and public confidence toward them mainly determine electoral integrity. One of the main components of electoral integrity is the transparency of vote counting process, which is open for observation by all stakeholders who are involved in elections. Additionally, announcing preliminary results in a timely manner is crucial to refute suspicions associated with the election results. In Georgia, vote counting process is carried out manually. Commission members within their mandate count ballots and draw up summary protocols. According to the established practice, the summary protocols drawn up by the precinct election commissions, not electronically but manually, are transferred to the district election commissions, which upload them on a special program. In the CC, the protocol is given to two operators through the program who enter the protocol data in a special database. Entering the data by two operators excludes human errors. Protocol data then is displayed on a special web page and gradually becomes available for any interested stakeholder. International and local observer organizations, besides a lot positive assessments of 2016 October 8 elections, in their final reports highlighted issues related to the announcement of preliminary election results. For example, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights in their final report mentioned that the CC began announcing and posting preliminary results by districts along with the protocols with a bit delay. In the final report of the International Republican Institute, it was mentioned that despite improved E-Day procedures, apparent problems were noticeable in the process of vote counting and tabulation of results. According to their assessment, slow reporting of results by the CC has occurred. According to the National Democratic Institute, in order to minimize errors, the Parliament and the CC should consider measures to simplify counting, tabulation, and other commission procedures while maintaining the transparency of the process in Georgia. Due to the fact that different assumptions associated with the announcement of preliminary results can put the electoral integrity under the question, can contribute to political speculations, and can harm the credibility of election administration, additional effective measures should be introduced to ensure quick announcement of election results. Sure, the goal of this analytical document is not to aim confirming that hypothesis that a quick announcement of election results will definitely increase the credibility of the election administration. But the following research just attempts to study existing alternatives, identify the best practice, and elaborate an effective action plan for Georgia. The following factors together with other circumstances, hinder the announcement of election results in the shortest time frame in Georgia. This is overcomplicated procedures of vote counting and tabulation that is defined by the Election Code of Georgia, which is also reflected in the reports of numerous international and domestic observers. The level of using informational technologies by the precinct election commissions during the vote counting is at the minimum level. Consequently, due to the manual procedures, the probability of human errors is very high, especially because that the commission members start vote counting, one of the most responsible procedure after 12-13 hours long work day, after the completion of the voting process. The errors made by the PC members while drawing up the summary protocol itself. This often becomes the subject of speculation from certain stakeholders, because then an amendment protocol needs to be drawn up. According to the existing law, the District Election Commission, that is the higher level commission, can correct the error found in the protocol. Recounting ballots at the precincts to refute suspicions related to the final results. This can be done by the decision of the commission itself or by the request of authorized stakeholders at the PC. There are frequent cases that the same PC ballots are counting for 4 or even more times, which increases period for drawing up a summary protocol and its submission to the respective administration. 4 different methods were used while developing this research paper. The documents analysis method that covered existing legislative framework, as well as summary reports of local and international organizations. Also, during the research, 3 different qualitative research methods were used, namely qualitative email interviewing method, in-depth interviews with local experts, and focus group discussions with the representatives of the political parties. The qualitative email interviewing method included distributing a preliminary developed questionnaire among 28 election administrations through emails. Based on the main tendencies identified through the qualitative email interviewing method, a guideline was designed for expert research. Also, at the final stage of the research, a focus group discussion was conducted with the political party representatives. Based on the survey responses, countries were identified in which the following 3 methods of voting and vote counting are used. The 28 countries under research were split into 3 groups. Election administrations where voting is performed manually, through ballots and votes are counted manually. For instance, Czech Republic, Macedonia, Bosnia, Moldova, Ukraine, and so on. Election administrations were used to vote electronically and vote counting process was electronic. These countries are Germany and Netherlands, for instance. They stopped using electronic systems for voting and vote counting. The main reason was public distrust and court ruling according to which the conducting elections were considered as unconstitutional. And the third is election administrations where voting or vote counting is carried out with the help of electronic systems in the whole country or in some part of this. For instance, Great Britain, Mongolia, South Korea, Kyrgyzstan, and so on. While working on the paper, the following criteria were elaborating for assessing different methods: legitimacy, impartiality, accuracy, the errors of a counter is at the minimum level, transparency of the process when the possibility of observing the process is possible for election observers, cost expenses, size of a PC constituency, security of the system, the number of polling station members and polling station itself, political risks, inclusiveness, if the method can be used by people with disabilities, especially by blind people and people with visual impairments, and engagement of ethnic minority voters, because in Georgia we have Azerian and Armenian ethnic minorities, and we're translating all the documentation in Azeri and Armenian languages as well. In Georgian case, the question may be asked in the following way: as long as for several election cycles, the time needed for announcing preliminary results was a matter of discussion, especially from election stakeholder sides, what kind of novelties could be introduced by the CC to avoid similar cases? Several experts and focus group participants voiced idea of introducing pilot electronic mode during small-scale elections. For instance, by elections that is conducted in 1 or 2 election districts. It is noteworthy that the respondents under research, while comparing the existing experiences of different countries, gave preference to the models where voting and counting is not carried out only manually. While comparing these methods, all participants, political party representatives, as well as the election administration representatives, rejected the idea of electronic voting. Respondents identified the following shortcomings: non-transparent process, because inability to recounting the vote because of the absence of ballot papers, and accuracy of the method. The experts interviewed within their research considered that vote counting through a scanner can be beneficial for the quickest announcement of preliminary results soon after the completion of voting procedures. The results counting throughout Georgia will become public maximum in 2-3 hours after the completion of voting. However, this does not mean that these would be final results. Consequently, the respondents reckon that it is desirable to recount these ballots manually as well. Electronic vote counting method through vote counting scanner machines got the higher scores in terms of impartiality, accuracy, and effectiveness. Additionally, other criteria such as inclusiveness and engagement of ethnic minorities should be taken into consideration. Therefore, the CC plans to implement pilot project of electronic vote counting for the May 13, 2018 Sacrebulo elections. By running the pilot project, the election administration plans to find out how receptive Georgian voters and electoral stakeholders are towards the use of new technologies. The election administration aims at discussing the possibilities of introducing successful electoral technologies in Georgian electoral process. It should be mentioned that in order to count the official results, vote counting procedures defined by the election legislation will be also implemented. The pilot is just being implemented for the research and purposes evaluation process. And pilot project on electronic vote counting is being implemented in cooperation with the DLM project, that is a non-profit organization based in Canada, oriented on electoral technologies and by the financial support of the government of Canada. Thank you very much for your attention, and in case you have questions, I'm ready to answer it. I don't know what's happened with this.
It's okay.
Oh, yes.
We'll do the job.